the Heat always seem to have certain success with undrafted guys, no matter what it is, what year it is. They're always somebody that sneaks through that ends up not only on the roster, but sometimes in the rotation. And after they made a pick with their 27th pick and got Nikola Jovic, there were three guys undrafted that they ended up signing who will be playing for their summer league team, which is just something I want to go through really quickly, just to see the type of games. There's obviously when you're falling outside the top 60, you're going to have some type of weakness to your game in some capacity and limitations. But I just want to go through and kind of show the strengths of each player, at least the biggest strength of each player. The first one is Amari Boye, a guy that is 6'1", a point guard. And it's clear when watching him play that the real intriguing part of his game is he's just a pure scorer a lot of times. Like when he has the ball in his hands offensively, he's a guy that can take you one-on-one through pure quickness and just his bag of moves, just going one-on-one in isolation. First one right here, just to go through some plays off a pick and roll. That he's not a type of guy that's just waiting for a screen so he can kind of get to his spots. He's a guy that'll pull that guy right back out, like right here, get into his moves, take a step back, tough jumper over the top and hits it. Once again, he's 6'1", so these type of things are not easy. Another one, waits it out, pulls out his defender again. Now he get into his crossover, step back. He's just a very smooth player in general, just when watching him play. And that's interesting for Miami Heat, developmental program that likes to see to guys like this, especially summer league. It's going to be helpful because there's going to be a lot of big men on Miami that are going to have all eyes on them. So next one, last clip of his, being guarded by the number 2 overall pick in this draft, Chet Holmgren, puts the moves on him as well in isolation, crossover, spin move, step back over that wingspan, still hits it. Like he's definitely has some talent to him. He's going to be a fun player to watch, at least just seeing the way he can move offensively. And the one thing I will mention, the other thing I'll mention about him is he's probably one of the better defenders among this grouping. Like he's just a very sound defensive player, even at 6'1" and a little bit smaller. He's quick at picking pockets and things of that nature, and he could be a really solid point of attack defender, which they always like to look for, especially in the undrafted market. Next one is Bryce Hamilton, just another guy. There's a couple of different departments of his game that we could talk about. Like he's a lefty. I think he shot 35% from three. He had his ups and downs. He shot much better this past year, which kind of shot up his draft stock a lot of ways. But watching him play, like he seems very under control, I guess, in the mid-range. And that's where this comes in. Like right here, he gets it in the free throw line, and they want to get him to operate there. He can get into a little turnaround. And one thing that's very intriguing as well to add on to this is he can really get his shot off. Like he shoots over the top of you. He gets up on his jumper. Like he really uses his legs a lot of times, specifically from deep. But the way he can operate right here, get a guy on his back, kind of operate, get into a bank shot. He's just very under control. Another one right here, gets him on his back, turns around, shoots over the top. He has a very simple game. And a lot of times with these type of players that they look at, like a lot of times last summer league, they grabbed a bunch of point guards and they had some centers on. This is the type of guy that, yes, he is, would be a type of guard, but he's a different type of guard. He's just somebody that operates in a different fashion. I think that's what Miami was looking for. They're not trying to get the same guy over and over to evaluate and pick the best one of the bunch. This is a guy that could be a little bit different. Once again, comes off it, gets in his spots in the mid-range, can step back, shoot over the top. He's a guy that just does a lot of things offensively in terms of he can be out of control when he starts getting in a groove, I've read. But it seems like a guy that can really be something, I guess, in Summer League to at least get another look at and evaluate. Now, the last guy, I think this is probably the one that most people are intrigued about because this is the guy that came up today, Orlando Robinson, a big man. He's like 7 foot and he's like 235 or 45 pounds. Like he's a big guy, but he isn't the usual type of build when you hear that type of, height and weight. He's a guy that can move, at least offensively. And that's why the one thing I want to highlight here is he has a face-up game, and that is very intriguing. It's what intrigued the Miami Heat in times when Bam Adebayo first got here is when he wasn't afraid in his first workout to get shots up and even shoot the three a bit. You see this right here from Orlando Robinson, be able to operate in that high post area. And something I want to highlight even more so is that spin move. He has a drop step and a spin move that he absolutely spams. Like he's going to spam it a ton because it works. Because as I go back, then I'm not going to re-show many clips here because there's just a bunch. But being able to go right here, keep the ball high on the spin, like he has a very pro level game in right outside, falling outside the draft. Another one, operating above the break, gets into his crossover, spin move, gets to the basket, contact, finish. Like it's very impressive stuff in general. The reason why it's even more intriguing, though, I will say, is the reason the face-up game works so much is because he has a post-up game. Like I was reading off and saying about his size, he uses his size to advantage. He's very strong, so he can really be a good post-up threat in general. but it's not like one of those players that can bully smaller guys in college and then things equalize in the NBA. Like, this is a guy that actually has a jumper. So see, now what happens is, if there's a guy that's equally as strong, what is he going to do? If he can't get into that spin move or that drop step, what is he going to do? Right here, gets to a spot, spin, fadeaway, jumper, and hits it. One more time. Let me show another one. Gets it in the little isolation, spin, jumper, fadeaway, coming right now, and he hits it. Like, that type of stuff, it's a value pickup in terms of just a guy that you're getting outside the draft. Like a big man, I'm interested to see his defensive abilities. Like, he's definitely going to be a drop big. I know some of the weaknesses people were mentioning is like he's not an elite shot blocker, which I don't think is a big deal. Like, if he has heavy feet and he can't really be a shot blocker, the ideal thing is just to be able to contain. And if you have this offensive ability, it's just something to kind of monitor. So these are the 3 undrafted guys that they got. There could be some more guys that come up through the pipeline that they end up grabbing, or some guys that pop in summer league. But for now, it's always something to monitor when talking about Miami Heat undrafted guys.